Hey, what's up, guys? It's Bakes here with day number 18 of my 31 Days of Horror. Today's movie is a bit more of a psychological thriller rather than a straight up horror movie, but still one that comes up a lot in horror conversations. One that I've seen a couple times before, but it was an interesting one to go back and rewatch. Today's movie is from 2015 and it's The Gift. Before I get into my thoughts of this movie, we'll quickly, as usual, go through the plot. So in this movie, we have husband and wife, Simon and Robin, played by Jason Bateman and Rebecca Hall, and they've moved houses. They've moved into the suburbs of California. They're settling in, and they run into this character in the middle named Gordon, or they call him Gordo, who is someone from Simon's past. Robin isn't familiar with him. There's sort of this tension between the two, and I'm just sort of going to leave the plot there. Gordo starts to come around more often, and you're not completely sure of his motives, and there's obviously something going on behind the scenes. I don't want to go too much into details and everything because with thrillers things get unraveled as you're watching, so for those who haven't seen it, I won't give too much away, but let's get into my thoughts of 2015's The Gift. So where I want to start with today's review is with Rebecca Hall. Over the past couple of years, I feel like she's started to get a bit more appreciation with movies that she starred in, like The Night House, for example, or Resurrection. I think a lot of people are just starting to figure out, wow, she really is a genuine talent, and she's very good at what she does. But she's great in this as well, as I said, and she's kind of our lead in this movie. She is the third party in this awkward situation where we have Simon and Gordon who have this history together. Us as an audience, we don't know their past. She is our eyes in this movie. She doesn't know their past, and we're unraveling the mystery with her. And I think she does a great job. Staying on her character of Robin for a second, this has got nothing to do with Rebecca Hall's performance, but a negative I kind of have is she has this soft spot for Gordo. So for majority of this movie, we're set up as Gordo is this unpredictable character, and he is. But he does some very questionable things where, you wouldn't feel safe with him around you and whatever. But she has this soft spot for him, and there's definitely reasons to have soft spots for Gordo, as we learn in the movie, and, the more the runtime goes on. But I feel like she isn't as creeped out with him as she probably should be, or realistically would be. It's sort of something that's rubbed me the wrong way whenever I think back on this movie, because I feel like anybody in this circumstance, no matter how much you feel sympathy for a person and what's going on in their past, you just still wouldn't feel as comfortable, or she just isn't creeped out enough by Gordon's presence. And staying on that, Joel Edgerton does a great job as Gordo in this movie. I feel like he is a really underrated actor as well, so I'll give him his praise as well. And just while I'm on it, I'll cap off the three starring roles in this movie and say Jason Bateman also does a really good job, but we'll get to that a little bit later. As I said, this wasn't my first time watching the movie, but rewatching it this time around, I sort of realised to myself, I love movies where tension comes from an awkward situation, because that's really what happens right at the start of this movie. Robin and Simon are out doing shopping for this new house that they've moved into, and that's where they run into Gordo, and Gordo introduces himself. Simon doesn't recognise him at first, and then as soon as the light bulb goes off and he realises who he is, there's this tension instantly, and I love it. It's so awkward. All the scenes are kind of like the dialogue is just a template, but it's improv, because it just comes across as so awkward, but it works so well for the movie, because as I said, it just creates tension and suspense. It very much reminded me of last year's Speak No Evil, if you saw that movie. Obviously, I've only seen Speak No Evil once. I've seen this movie, I'd say, a couple times before Speak No Evil, but as I said, it just sort of reminds me of that, because that movie, as I said, it is just so awkward to watch and so uncomfortable, and that's where the tension comes from. And as I said, rewatching the film this time around, it made me go, yeah, no, I think I love that in horror and thrillers, create the tension from an awkward situation, because, I don't know, it just adds something to it. And as I said, lots of creepy and suspenseful scenes come from it. Now, I said I'd get back around to it, but Jason Bateman in this movie is also a highlight. First of all, I think it was great casting for Jason Bateman to play Simon, because at first you're rooting for him because, first of all, Jason Bateman is just an overall likable guy, and Simon seems to be a likable guy. But then as the movie unravels the mystery of what's actually going on, it flips a switch and you go, wow, I'm starting to think that Jason Bateman isn't a straight up guy, and I think it's just great casting, and he does a great job in this movie with his performance as well. But I just love how uncomfortable he is, especially in the first half of the movie when you don't know what's actually happening. When Gordon's around, Robin's trying to be nice. Gordon is a socially awkward person, but she's just giving him the time of day. She's trying to be nice. And you could cut the tension between Simon and Gordon with a knife. Like, he fucking just wants Gordon gone. You can tell, and as I said, it just adds to it. It's so tense, and it just adds to the awkwardness and everything that I was saying before. I love it. And as I said, the development of his character, I think, is really well done in this movie as well, but I won't get into that because it gets sort of into spoilers. I also really loved how many sort of false role reversals were coming. So at the start of the movie, as I said, it's sort of pitched that Gordon is this creep, and he is, but there's just some weird shady shit going on, and you're just waiting for the moment to snap. So a few times he comes to the house unexpected, but does nothing overly malicious. Then he invites them to do certain things with him and whatever. And there's like a few moments like he invites them to dinner at his house, and you're like, okay, shit's gonna go down now. But then it keeps going, and then they go to leave and the gate doesn't open straight away, and you go, oh, this is it. But then it keeps going, and you're going, okay, when is this gonna hit? Like, when are we gonna go, oh? And realistically, it only hits in the last 10 minutes of this movie, but it fucking hits hard. The brutal ending of this movie is crazy. Like, you don't really know who to feel bad for, because it is a heart, like, crushing ending. You put yourself in anyone's scenario in this movie. It is a really bleak ending, but as I said, it just builds and builds, and there's so many false moments where you go, oh, this is where it's going to twist, and it just keeps going and going, but I feel like it just builds up to more. So I'm going to leave my review here for it for now. I do like The Gift. I probably don't like it as much as the first few times I watched it, probably just because I know what the twist is. That's always the case with thrillers. Sometimes you know what's happening, so it takes a little bit of the edge off. But still really enjoyable. I'm going to give The Gift from 2015 an 8 out of 10. If you've seen this movie, let me know your thoughts of it. It's pretty much just those three starring in this movie. You have some side characters come in and out, but it's pretty much Bateman, Edgerton, and Hall, and they all do a great job. So I want to hear your thoughts on this movie, guys. Thank you for joining me for day number 18. I'm forgetting already, but we're almost at the end of 31 days. You got a handful of days to go, but thank you for joining me again, guys, and I'll see you for another episode tomorrow.